Return to the peak. Future author, Juju as a civilian, Shi Qingyang became a strong man in China, second only to two ninth-level masters, but he did not want to be overtrained when he was young to bury hidden dangers. After the war, he was calculated and his body collapsed into a waste person, but also taste the warmth of humanity. After his death, he opened his eyes again. Shi Qingyang returned to the year his parents passed away. He vowed to never make the mistakes he once made. Those who have harmed him will never be merciless. Now, his first task is to feed himself. Belly. As for where the food is, in his previous life, he refused the help of others because of his so-called self-esteem. This time he needs to hook up the soft young master of the Cheng family. At least, he must not be hungry like in his previous life. With food, exercise equipment, opportunities to become stronger, and finally, even the daughter-in-law. Future background, protagonist attack, upgrade flow content tag, rebirth revenge, snow hatred, science fiction search keywords, protagonist, Shi Qingyang, Cheng Ran supporting actor others, strange animal, future Xinjiang gold medal recommendation, Shi Qingyang, as a civilian, became a strong man in China, second only to two ninth-level masters, but he did not want to be overtrained when he was young to bury hidden dangers and let him be calculated after the war. The collapse became a waste. After his death, he opened his eyes again, and he returned to the year his parents died, vowing that he would never make the mistakes he had made, and that he would never be merciless. Of course, his first task was to fill his stomach. The article describes a future world imagined by the author, and tells the process of the male protagonist from nothing to the peak of his life. Many plots make people smile. The male protagonist in the article is extremely obsessed with food. After he was reborn, he learned how to make his own life better and how to use methods, but he also has his own bottom line. As he grows, the story unfolds slowly. The plot is coherent and novel throughout, and it is fascinating to read. Shi Qingyang was awakened from hunger. Hunger is no stranger to him. Waking up from hunger is commonplace. He needs to endure hunger every day for several years in his life. Therefore, someone asked him what he likes most before. He will answer food every time. But, isn't he dead already? How can you feel hungry if you are already dead? The overwhelming strange beasts rushing towards the city are by no means fake. Even the heavily guarded research institute where he is located has been breached. How can other places be spared? Moreover, Shi Qingyang clearly remembered that when he was thrown down by that huge spider beast, a huge explosion occurred in the entire central city. Such an explosion was most likely the central city activated its self-destructing device. Central City is the largest city in China. Once it explodes, the residents of the city, the strange beasts raging in the city, and him will never survive. At that time, despair, anger, and fear seemed to be still rolling in his body, but now, he only felt hungry. Shi Qingyang suddenly widened his eyes, and then everything that came into view made his whole body stiff. A dim and small room with nothing but a poster on the metal wall. That poster is strictly speaking a tank advertisement on an arrogant 12-wheeled motorcycle. One opened the protective helmet. The man in the mask was looking at the camera with fierce eyes. He was a very handsome man, and even his favorite radiation warrior in his youth. This civilian was born, and the radiation fighter who succeeded after suffering all the hardships was once one of the driving forces for him to sustain. However, he soon surpassed this person by far, and when he met later, this person had become extremely weak due to the riot in his body and bowed to him. He still accidentally learned about this person. Reports on how much effort has been made are mostly fabricated. So the worship of adolescence disappeared in an instant. Now, how could this photo appear in front of him? In other words, how could he appear in this room that accompanied him through the most painful and difficult 2 years? Shi Qingyang suddenly held his right wrist. The cold metal texture shocked him. He lowered his head and saw what made his heart beat faster. On his thin arm, a black square contact terminal is wearing on his wrist. This is a basic contact terminal provided by the Chinese government for free to every citizen. It is not only ugly, but also has very few uses. Except for the people at the bottom. No one knows how to use it. Shi Qingyang used it all the time when he was young, and got a lot of ridicule. Because of this, when he was 19 years old, when he finally had the money, he immediately bought a shape without hesitation. Replace it with a variety of fashionable functions. The contact terminal in front of him was once abandoned by Shi Qingyang like a clog, but later, he didn't even have the opportunity to wear the contact terminal. Shi Qingyang has experienced great rises and falls in this life. At the beginning, he lived on government relief funds and odd jobs. Later, he became the strongest person in China except for 2 elderly people who no longer deal with it. But he became a useless person because he was conspired to riot by energy. In the last years, he was in the research institute. Those people told the public that they had arranged the best pharmacists for treatment for him. In fact, they were studying why he could become an 8th grader in a short period of time. The strong also possess powerful radiation energy control. The reason why he became an 8th level powerhouse is mostly related to the month of fighting in the ant den, but the specific situation is not even clear to him. As for his radiation control power, he can have all that, but it is because it took far more effort than ordinary people. Both parents have died, and he can't even get the money for school. If he wants to succeed, he naturally needs to put in more effort. How can the young masters who have been the best cultivated since childhood understand? Of course, this is not the time to think about this. At this time, Shi Qingyang just wants to figure out his situation. The old contact terminal displayed the current time August 3, 3016. Although he no longer knows the time after being sent to the institute, he repeats the life of being blood drawn and cut every day, but he clearly remembers that it was 3037 when he entered the institute. Is he dreaming? Dreaming that 20 years ago, he had the hardest time? Shi Qingyang subconsciously felt the radiant energy in his body. The radiant energy in his body was so weak that it was negligible, but it was under his control. What exactly is going on? All kinds of memories filled his mind. Shi Qingyang squeezed his hand tightly and pinched his nails deeply into the flesh. It wasn't until the contact terminal on his hand rang that he suddenly recovered. At the same time I felt the pain in my hands and a strong sense of hunger. He will still be in pain and hungry. Does this mean that he is still alive? Shi Qingyang's heart became confused, and at the same time he quickly reached out and pressed the answer button of the contact terminal. This kind of most common contact terminal can't be used for virtual projection, but it can display images. When the person on the other side did not set up a private mode, Shi Qingyang saw a face with a beard and a wall full of walls behind it. Various tools for cleaning and repairing tanks. He was not unfamiliar with that face, it was the owner of the car wash shop where he worked when he was young, but his strength improved too fast later. After leaving Spark City, he never saw this person again. Boy, why haven't you come here today? Are you uncomfortable? Tao Rubeo frowned when displayed on the contact terminal, with concern in his words, but his tone was not good. Shi Qingyang was in a daze for a while. Hey, boy, what's the matter with you? Tao Rubeo asked again. I'll come here right away. Shi Qingyang said immediately. He is now eager to understand his situation. That's good. Tao Rubeo disconnected the communication directly. Shi Qingyang got up from the bed, and then he felt even more hungry. He still remembered that he would prepare the next day's food the night before. Sure enough, he saw half a box of nutritious meals on the table. Although the nutritious meal sounds good, it is made with the water and the corners of the different animals. The taste is very bad, and of course the price is cheap. Since the asteroid with huge radiation hit the Earth 1,000 years ago, half of the flora and fauna on the Earth have been extinct, and the rest have also undergone mutations. Nowadays, All plants in the wild are radiated and can no longer be eaten. Now humans rely on the meat of exotic animals except for a few plants cultivated in cities. However, the price of good alien meat is not low. For Shi Qingyang, who is receiving the relief fund, he can't afford it. In order to save enough for the tuition of Xingguo Academy, he even has the worst nutritious meal. Don't dare to eat more, only eat 1 box a day. He had lived a life like this for 2 full years, and at one time he felt that he was very inspirational, but then he regretted it and wished to kill himself. At that time, he had just acquired the radiation energy, had to work every day, had to do high-intensity exercise, or when he started to develop at the age of 16. At this time, even if every 1 box of nutritious meals, he would not eat enough. Just starving all the time. The radiation energy in his body is relatively stable, but unfortunately, it was because he had not kept up with nutrition and overtrained when he was young, so that his body suffered a serious loss. Every time he fights, his body will have problems. In the end, others just grabbed this weakness and let him fall from the clouds to the mud, never having a chance to turn over again. Shi Qingyang slapped his face with a slap, and without thinking about it, he gobbled up half a box of nutritious meals. No matter how strong the technology is, there is no way to make food out of thin air. Food is naturally very precious. So although the taste of this nutritious meal is very unpalatable, Shi Qingyang still ate it all without wasting at all. When I was so hungry, I even licked the box. However, in private, even though he was like this, in front of outsiders, he has always maintained an arrogance and never bowed his head. Even if someone had kindly given him food, he was so mercilessly rejected. That's because of self-esteem. However, when he lay in the research institute without self-esteem and looked back on his life, he realized how stupid he was when he was young. Can self-esteem be eaten? At that time, if he was willing to accept the help of others, if he was willing to lower his head, and fainted from hunger during training, it would certainly not happen. After putting away the iron box for the nutritious meal, Shi Qingyang touched his stomach. Half a box of nutritious meal could not fill his stomach at all. However, there was something in his stomach. After all, he felt much better, so he drank it and put it on himself. The half bottle of water next to him opened the door to leave his home. That's right, his home is just a small room of no more than 10 square meters in the slum area of the underground city. As soon as Shi Qingyang opened the door, he saw a small passage that only allowed 2 people to pass side by side. Both sides of the passage were made of steel, with doors on it. Behind each door, there was a small room of this kind. Under this floor of the house, there is also the existence of the second underground floor, where many people also live. Since the entire planet's ecology was destroyed thousands of years ago, and powerful radiation flooded the entire planet, humans have had to live underground for a long time. It was not until nearly 500 years before cities began to derive from the ground, with above-ground cities and underground cities. The difference between cities. Nowadays rich and capable people, most of them will choose houses on the ground. These houses can let them feel the daylight and dark through the huge protective cover. Even if the radiation may be stronger on the ground, they all have access to the dungeon. Basement. Shi Qingyang has lived in such a house, but he has lived in a dungeon most of the time, and all this in front of him is even more familiar to him. Now the house does not need to be purchased, as long as the monthly management fee and energy consumption fee can be paid. In the past, although the Shi Qingyang family could not live on the ground, in the underground city, they could also live in a 2-bedroom and 2 living room. Nice house. Unfortunately, after his parents died under the mouth of a strange animal, Shi Qingyang can no longer live in a house with a monthly management and energy consumption of more than 1,500 credits. His current house is managed. Costs and energy consumption only need 1/5 of the previous. After walking through a narrow passage that was 200 meters long, Shi Qingyang came to the street of the underground city. There are spacious roads on the ground that allow chariots to pass, but the only means of transportation in the dungeon is trams. The 2 tracks are in the middle of the street. Just swipe the contact terminal and you can use the price of 2 credits. He drove to the entrance and exit of the dungeon. However, Shi Qingyang remembered that he had never used a car before. At that time, if he really had spare money, he would definitely choose to buy food anyway. He didn't have the money to go to the exercise room, and running. Isn't it an exercise method? The memories of his youth resurfaced again and again, and Shi Qingyang looked at everything he was familiar with, and was a little at a loss for a while. All this shouldn't be fake, so, did he really return to when he was 16? In 3016, Shi Qingyang was 16 years old. It was in this year that his life entered the first trough. Shi Qingyang was born in Xingguo City, a third-tier city in the southeastern part of China, which belongs to the second-tier city Anhang City. The third-tier city is the smallest city today, but because humans cannot survive outside the city, although Spark City is not large, it is inhabited by 500,000 people. Most of them live in the underground city, with a family crowded in one. There are also many people in the 10-square-foot hut. Shi Qingyang's current life is not particularly bad. At least he can receive 1,500 credits of relief money every month because he is a minor. But before, his life was not particularly good. In this city it's medium. On February 24, 3016, Shi Qingyang's 16th birthday, that is, on this day, he was injected with radiation energy medicine and successfully induced radiation energy. Not only that, a month later, his body was stabilized for a physical examination. Good results of CC for radiation energy tolerance and radiation energy adaptability were tested. Radiation energy is actually the abbreviation of radiant energy. Since the asteroid hit the Earth in 2045, the entire Earth has been shrouded in intense radiation. Animals, humans, and plants all died in large numbers. Finally, humans hid underground and built only after special radiation-resistant dungeons did he finally survived. After human beings managed to escape the disaster, they found that all mammals were basically extinct, and every plant contained radioactive substances, and the only thing that adapted to such a harsh environment was unexpectedly unremarkable before. Insects. Insects reproduce quickly and evolve quickly. They also die in large numbers, but many of them have adapted to the environment full of radiation and mutated. After mutation, the insects are exotic animals. Humans without weapons are vulnerable to a blow in front of them. For a time, humans could only use thermal weapons to deal with these strange beasts, until later they discovered radiant energy. After human beings suffer from radiation damage, some people can produce a kind of violent energy in their bodies. This kind of energy brought by radiation is named radiant energy, which can make the human body stronger. Only relying on radiation to possess radiant energy has a very high mortality rate, so later humans have developed radiation energy agents. Now, as long as they are 16 years old, they need to go to the hospital to inject radiation energy drugs to induce radiation energy. About 80% of people can induce radiation energy successfully. After success, they need to test radiation energy tolerance and radiation energy adaptability. Radiation capacity, what detects is how much radiation energy a person can hold. The adaptability of radiation energy, what is detected is how much radiation energy a person can adapt to. Radiant energy is a very violent force. In history, there are countless examples of body collapse due to the inability to control the radiant energy in one's body. Shi Qingyang's previous life was one of the examples. Of these 2 tests, the worst is the A-level, both of which are A-level people, who will never become a radiation fighter in their lifetime, and the above is D-level, and they may become a first-level or second-level radiation fighter. The upper level is C-level, which is expected to become a third or fourth-level radiation fighter. B-level may become a fifth-level and sixth-level radiation fighter, and A-level may have the opportunity to become a seventh-level radiation fighter. S-level, and even the legendary S level and SS level. Nowadays, some people are born with radiant energy, and the radiant capacity and adaptability of radiant energy can reach S level. These people are undoubtedly the pride of heaven, and they will never appear in a small third-tier city, in Spark City. The best physique is only grade B. Once someone detects double B grade, they will immediately be sent to a secondary city. Under such circumstances, Shi Qingyang can detect a double C result, which is naturally a good result. With such a result, he can even go to the Spark Academy, the best college in Spark City, and learn about the application of radiant energy there. Nowadays, human beings can only cultivate a small number of plants in cities, which cannot meet the food needs of so many people. The source of food is exotic animals outside the city, and only radiation fighters can leave the safe areas outside the city. Therefore, basically everyone wants to become a radiation fighter, and Shi Qingyang is of course the same. Therefore, after receiving the admission letter from Xingguo Academy, both he and his parents were very happy. His father was even heartbroken. He contracted a small area out of the city and planned to use it to grow some herbs after radiation. The plants can no longer be eaten, but they can be used to treat radiation damage, and even make anti-radiation ointments or medicaments to regulate radiation energy. Shi Qingyang's father was a second-level radiation warrior, and his mother was a junior pharmacist. The two planted herbs outside the city. As long as they were willing to spend their time, they would definitely make a lot of money, but no one expected that the herbs they planted. It actually attracted a strange beast, first a grasshopper beast, and then a mantis beast. A second-level radiation warrior, it is impossible to be the opponent of the mantis beast. When the inspection team from Spark City arrived, Shi Qingyang's parents had already passed away. The family's money has been invested in the medicinal plantation field, leaving only a part of the living expenses. His parents originally planned to harvest the first batch of medicinal materials before the start of school and sell them for him to study. Shi Qingyang just got his parents double after the sad news of death. I found out that I had to save the tuition for school alone. As for not going to school, if he doesn't go to Spark Academy, how can he learn how to use radiant energy? If he hadn't learned how to use radiation energy, how could he kill the alien beasts and avenge his parents? Shi Qingyang can't give up going to school, and his double C results are not enough to make the school pay attention to the reduction or exemption of his tuition. In the end, the only thing he can do is to work and save money. This is undoubtedly a very gloomy year in his life, and now, he is back. After regaining his senses from his memories, Shi Qingyang was a little afraid to be sure that all of this was true or false at the moment. He hesitated for a while, looked at the contact terminal in his hand, and then clicked to check the balance. Every citizen of the Earth Alliance can get a chip bound to himself after birth, which records all the information. This chip is placed in everyone's contact terminal so that people can use the contact terminal to do many things, such as buy food. 18,798 credits. Shi Qingyang remembers that the tuition fee of Xingguo Academy is 20,000 credits a year. He spent 20,000 credits in a year. He paid the tuition, but in the end he didn't have the money to pay the miscellaneous fees. It attracted ridicule from his classmates. Even I didn't even buy the dining card. Of course, based on his situation at that time, he didn't have the money to eat in the school cafeteria. Shaking his head, Shi Qingyang walked along the streets of the dungeon. The dungeon is built of steel and stone. The sky is not visible here. The lighting relies on sparse street lamps. However, everyone is used to such an environment and will not be uncomfortable. Shi Qingyang walked along the street. There were not many shops in the underground city. After walking for a while, he saw a store selling food and water. A box of 15 credits for nutritious meals and a bottle of 5 credits for water. In the past, Shi Qingyang would only buy a box of nutritious meals and a bottle of water at night every day. After eating half a box of nutritious meals in the morning, he would have to wait for the evening to eat. However, this time, he did not feel wronged and bought it. A box of nutritious meal and a bottle of water, I ate it hungrily, and drank half a bottle of water. After eating and drinking, he became more and more sure that all of this is true now. Facing this situation, he was fortunate and sad. Fortunately, I got the chance to do it again, and I was sad that he never returned before his parents died. His parents were the only people in the world who would treat him unconditionally, but they died in the mouth of a strange beast, with no bones left. And he himself died under the mouth of a strange beast. The picture of the entire city being destroyed before his death seemed to be in front of his eyes. For a while, Shi Qingyang didn't even know where he was. Clenching his fist, he ran along the road of the dungeon. Although it has been 20 years apart, the road he used to run twice a day is still very familiar. It didn't take long before he came to the entrance. Go up the steps, brush the connector at the door and go out, and then from the dim underground world, to the ground. The buildings on the ground of Starfire City are not high, and there is a semicircular protective cover above. The protective cover is transparent, but because it is coated with a thick anti-radiation paint, it finally becomes translucent, but even so, it is also much brighter than the underground city. The shopping malls, schools, and various guilds of Spark City University are all on the ground. The roads here are still very wide, and there are more chariots going back and forth on the road. Before the death of his parents, Shi Qingyang had been studying in a nearby school, but after his parents passed away, he did not go to school. Instead, he took a job as a car wash. His work location was at the entrance to the west gate of Xingguo City. People who have been out of the city will carry radioactive substances on their bodies when they return to the city. They need to clean their radiation protection suits at the door. Naturally, they also need to clean their tanks. This job will be exposed to strong radiation. People who have not induced radiation energy simply he couldn't do it, and he wouldn't do it at his age. After all, the radiation damage was not small, but he was really short of money. Moreover, this job has another advantage, that is, you can get in touch with the radiation fighters who return to the city. These people often talk about the world outside the city, and even exchange some radiation knowledge. He never gave up such a learning opportunity when he was young. There are countless entrances between the underground city of Spark City and the above-ground city. Except for public passages, all buildings on the ground have basements to connect to the underground city, but there are only 4 gates from the city to the city, one each in the southeast, northwest, and northwest. Shi Qingyang lives in the west of the city, where he works, which is a car wash shop at the entrance of the west gate. The west gate has an entrance to the city and an entrance to the city. It occupies a very large area. There is an entrance square and an exit square. The exit square mainly prepares the people in the city. Some people sell various radiation-proof shops in the shops around the square. For clothing coatings and even ointments, there are many car washes and laundry shops in the city square, and some people sell food that is more expensive than in the city. Of course, the most are the shops that buy strange animals and deal with them. In order to prevent radioactive substances from entering the city and polluting the city, he must go through a frequent passage to enter the city. Shi Qingyang once again swiped his contact terminal on the machine, walked through the long passage, and then felt the clarity. The radiant energy also smelled the strange smell and smell brought by the strange animal. All this is very familiar to him. The entrance square is very large. This rectangular square is made of steel and is about 3 stories high. Half of it is outside the protective cover of Spark City, and half is inside the protective cover of Spark City. All vehicles and people entering the city need to stay here to get into the city after removing the radioactive material from their bodies. Therefore, it has always been very lively. Shi Qingyang spent a long time working and exercising here when he was studying at Xingguo Academy. Later, he spent most of his time hunting and killing foreign animals outside the city. Every time he returned to the city, he would stay for a while. This is full of radiation and the place with the weird taste actually has a kind of intimacy to him. It is the morning when most people are out of the city, so there are not many people here, only a few people are sparsely moving out of a boxes-shaped chariot, one by one iron boxes, there are many half-meter-long vegetable aphids inside. Beast. It is said that before 2045, aphids are very small. At that time, insects, which accounted for 4/5 of the total number of animals, were the smallest and most inconspicuous among animals. However, after experiencing radiation and undergoing mutations, mammals in the wild are basically all were extinct. In the end, only these very fast-breeding insects adapted to the harsh environment and survived. Aphids used to be the fastest breeding and most abundant insects, but now they are the fastest breeding and most abundant alien animals. When the radiation enveloped the Earth, 9 out of 10 humans died, and the living people were all hungry. That is, at that time, humans accidentally discovered that although plants containing radioactive substances are no longer edible, strange animals have the ability to filter toxins. They eat plants containing radioactive substances and possess venom, but the meat in their bodies is not. It will contain too much radiation. At that time, human beings survived by hunting and feeding on them. However, with the passage of time and the increase in population, hunting alone is obviously not enough to meet human food needs, so some people began to breed some herbivorous animals near the city. The cabbage aphid is the most farmed exotic animal one. Those cabbage beasts were obviously bred, and they were still alive. People who were still wearing radiation-proof clothing soaked the cabbage beasts in a special potion, and then they all put them in the freezer. After leaving here, they will be processed, the good meat will be put on the shelf for sale, and the worst corners will be sent to the factory that makes nutritious meals. Before Shi Qinjiang's parents were still there, his mother would often buy some exotic animal meat and cook it by herself. Among them, the meat of the vegetable aphid animal was the most bought, but after her death, the taste would be like that. Shi Qingyang couldn't eat it anymore. Tao Rubeo rented a shop in the south-facing area of the entrance square. There is his car wash shop. Although the technology is very advanced nowadays, there may be radioactive substances in the seams of the chariot and in the car. Special potions should not be wasted. Therefore, some things must be done manually. When Shi Qingyang passed by, Tao Rubeo was cleaning a somewhat dilapidated 12-wheeled chariot with a decontamination device. Next to the chariot, there was a middle-aged man sitting beside the chariot, washing his radiation suit with potion. "Boy, are you here?" Tao Rubeo greeted Shi Qingyang from a distance. "Uncle Tao." Shi Qingyang smiled. "Where are you uncomfortable?" Tao Rubeo kept moving and asked casually. Shi Qingyang has not been late since he came to work here. This is the first time such a thing happened today. Along the way, even though Shi Qingyang still feels a little skeptical about everything now, he has adjusted his mentality. "Uncle Tao, I'm fine. It's okay. You can bring the anti-radiation potion inside and brush the car again." Tao Rubeo said and went around in the field. The owner got on and off the car and dealt with alien animals and plants. The car was contaminated with a lot of radioactive substances. Not only should the radiation in the depressions be cleaned out, but also the parts of the car should be maintained. Otherwise, some radiation materials may corrode the car. "Get me the cheapest, I haven't made much this month." The man who was cleaning the radiation suit raised his voice. "Old Gao, don't worry, when will I use your expensive pit?" Tao Rubeo replied, and asked, "Why did your farm go out early in the morning today?" "I don't know. It seems that there is a big person coming, so you have to prepare more food. Those adult raptors are still secondary. The cubs of raptors are the key point. They will all be sent to the Spark Hotel. Roast and eat the whole thing." Gao Gao said as he smashed his mouth, "Whenever I am rich, I must go to the Spark Hotel to have a big meal. You are a second-level radiation fighter, can't you still not afford it? With my income, I can only eat meat cooked by my wife. If I really go to the Spark Hotel, I am afraid I will have a nutritious meal in the next month. Gao Gao laughed. Shi Qingyang took the brush and used the potion to brush the 12-heeled chariot carefully, not letting go of any gaps, and at the same time tried to think back, but still did not remember who this man named Plateau was, only guessed. He should be an employee of the vegetable aphid breeding farm. He doesn't need to unload the goods. He is probably still a small boss. He didn't pay too much attention to the Plateau, but he was very curious about what he said about the Plateau. Spark City has been to a big man this time? Why is he not impressed at all? All the adult beasts that were brought back in the van were frozen, but the cubs were washed and then placed in another cage. After radiation monitoring, these people soon took the beasts through the growth. The long passage left the entrance to the city. Shi Qingyang cleaned the 12-heeled chariots on the plateau, but those vans were packaged by a larger car washing shop next to him, so he quickly got free and started to feel the radiant energy in the air. Where there is radiation, there is radiant energy. Shi Qingyang can't feel anything in the city, but here you can feel some irritable energy in the air. Of course, the energy intensity here is incomparable with that in the wild. In Tao Rubeo's shop, apart from Shi Qingyang, there is also his sister Tao Ruyu. After looking at it until noon, Tao Ruyu put down the potion that was being prepared. Big brother, I'm going outside to buy food, what are you eating today? As usual. Tao Rubeo said. The food at the entrance is more expensive than outside. They go out to buy food every day when they arrive at the restaurant. He usually eats a boxed lunch with 40 credits. Okay. Tao Ruyu responded, and was about to go out, but Shi Qingyang stopped her. Aunt Tao, buy me a nutritious meal. Tao Ruyu and Tao Rubeo both looked at Shi Qingyang in surprise, especially Tao Rubeo, frowning. Xiao Yang, aren't you picky eaters? How do you eat nutritious meals? These days, the food is really not cheap, but the rough taste of the nutritious meal is also annoying. It is not the lowest level, and it is generally not possible to eat a nutritious meal. Shi Qingyang has been working with him for more than 3 months. Because Shi Qingyang is young, he counts money by the hour, 10 credits per hour. This salary is not high, but Shi Qingyang used to work all day. Staying with him for more than 10 hours a day, he can get more than 3,000 credits a month. Such income is very difficult to support the family, but a child's pocket money can definitely be used very comfortably. They used to greet Shi Qingyang when they ate, but Shi Qingyang never ate with them. He went out alone. They thought he was abandoning the box lunch and it was not delicious, and he was spending money on barbecue or something. Tao Rubeo's son, never eat a box lunch that is mashed, and always eat barbecue sauce. Uncle Tao, I haven't eaten at noon before. Shi Qingyang smiled. When he used to be this old, his self-esteem was very strong, and he was afraid that others would pity himself, so he never told others about his difficulties, and he didn't want others to give them to himself. Help, although he didn't eat anything at noon, he never let others know. Tao Rubeo asked. He even deliberately made the other person feel that he is picky eaters and doesn't like boxed lunches. Did not eat. Tao Rubeo looked at Shi Qingyang in surprise. Uncle Tao, there is something in my family, I have been short of money. Shi Qingyang didn't say much, vaguely, he really didn't want to mention the death of his parents. Tao Rubeo reacted. In fact, Shi Qingyang was only 16 years old. If there is nothing wrong with the family, which 16-year-old child would come to do such work that is exposed to radiation all day long? And if a child has something to do at home, how can he still have money to eat delicious food? You kid! I'm going to treat you today. Don't eat a nutritious meal. Let me have a meal like mine. In the following sentence, Tao Rubeo said to his sister Tao Ruyu, and suddenly discovered that Shi Qingyang didn't like to eat boxed lunches. He couldn't help but feel a little guilty because he couldn't afford to eat lunch. Tao Ruyu responded with a smile. Shi Qingyang has always been indifferent. Although she works hard, she rarely speaks. Therefore, she used to be indifferent to Shi Qingyang. Now that she knows this, she can't help being enthusiastic about Shi Qingyang. Shi Qingyang thanked him again and again, and his mood was complicated. He was really too young back then, he didn't even know that he was weak. 40 credits of a box lunch is mostly mashed meat, and there is also a small piece of potato. Now the plants are all cultivated in the city without soil, and the price is expensive. Just a piece of potato that is not the size of a thumb costs 10 credit points. As for the ordinary bento with only meat paste, the price is twice that of the nutritious meal, with 30 credits. Although I had a nutritious meal this morning, when the 16-year-old had the best appetite, Shi Qingyang naturally ate a whole meal, and then he put it away. I and Taoruyu's lunch boxes, put them in a special collection point. Lunch boxes and water bottles are alloys, and they will all be recycled and reused. In the afternoon, their business changed for the better. Shi Qingyang used to be hungry all day long. Although he was diligent, his spirit was always a little sluggish. This time he worked very swiftly. Not only that, he also took the initiative to greet the guests. Taorubeo looked at Shi Qingyang several times in surprise. Shi Qingyang used to sit alone all day without talking. Today's changes are not trivial, but when he thinks of asking him to eat, he has to do 3 or 4. He just earned his lunch at a young age, and he felt that he had found the reason. The most in and out of Spark City are vans and second-wheeled tanks. Second-wheeled tanks are very flexible. Vans can hold a lot of things. People in Spark City generally work together to form a small team. Get on a few 12-wheeled chariots and a van, and then go out of the city to hunt foreign animals. However, at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon that day, suddenly 6 4-wheeled chariots, which are rare in the city of Spark, drove in from the long passage that entered the city. The black 4-wheeled tank has been stained with blood because it has been driving outside for a long time, but it still looks very majestic. An ordinary tank like this requires hundreds of thousands of credit points. Shi Qingyang, who has experienced great ups and downs, has good eyesight. He is very certain that these 6 cars will cost several million, and the middle one has even been modified. Judging by the blood, mud, and sand on these cars, they should have been driving outside the city for several days. So, these people came from other cities? Just thinking about this, a few cars have already drove to the square, and some people wearing radiation-proof combat uniforms stepped out of the cars one after another. The people who got on and off from the cars next to them all had blood stains on them. The cars in the middle were modified. The few people who came up and down were clean. Among them, there was even an old man and a young man. The teenager was wearing a thick radiation protection suit, but he still looked slender. He also wore a white radiation protection helmet. Because Su finally entered the city, he opened his face mask and gasped for breath. A pale and somewhat unnatural face. However, Master, you are not in good health. There is radiation here, so let's wear a mask. The old man next to him even took off his helmet, but he persuaded the young man to put down his mask. The boy nodded and put down the mask obediently. Master Ran, Cheng Ran? Shi Qingyang still remembered this old man, he was clearly the housekeeper who had been with Cheng Ran all day. However, Cheng Ran in his impression should be chubby, but now Cheng Ran is surprisingly thin. Seeing Cheng Ran again, Shi Qinjiang's mood was a bit complicated. Cheng Ran was his classmate from Xingguo Academy in his previous life, and he was also the person he disliked the most at that time. Nowadays, 4/5 of the people have radiation energy. In a third-tier city like Spark City, although there are very few highly talented people, the Spark Academy only recruits radiation energy capacity and radiation energy adaptability that all reach C level. Student. Both of his grades are C, and he has just reached the minimum admission standard of the Spark College. Before he did not rely on his own efforts to stand out, he was always neglected by his teachers and classmates, but Cheng Ran was a continuous energy. Ordinary people who don't have any. Xingguo Academy has no shortage of students who came in after spending a lot of money, but there is only such an outrageous one like Chang Ran. At that time, Shi Qingyang was squeezed out at school because of living constraints, and Chang Ran because he didn't even go to such an academy because he didn't even have to go to such an academy, and was eventually despised. The two of them were incompatible with the others. Pitiful for the same disease, but Shi Qingyang hates Chang Ran. How can a person who can't even fill his stomach like a young master who is served by someone? Shi Qingyang couldn't help feeling a little dazed when he thought about what happened when he was 16. In fact, at that time, Chang Ran showed his favor to him more than once, and was the only one who discovered that he was skipping lunch and wanted to share his food with him. However, at that time, both his parents died and suffered a big change. They wanted to get ahead on their own to become powerful radiation fighters, but did not want to be pitiful by others. Chang Ran gave him the meat and half of his lunch, and said, "I don't like eating meat." This undoubtedly hurt his self-esteem, so he was not willing to accept this kindness at all. Facing Chang Ran's expectation, he left without looking back. After that time, Chang Ran also don't show him okay anymore. He saw Chang Ran again. It was at the funeral of Grandpa Chang Ran. It was also at that time that he knew that Chang Ran's grandfather turned out to be one of the best masters in the first-level city of Yangtze City, and an 8th-level radiation fighter, just this old man. After his death, the Chang family was also defeated. For a long time after that, Shi Qingyang didn't hear from Chang Ran again. But after many years, after he became an 8th-level radiation fighter, and even after defeating Shang Yuhang, who was once known as the first person under the 9th level, he learned about Chang from a former classmate who came to cheat him. The news of his death. Chang Ran died outside the city. The cause of death was a fight with a different animal, but a person who didn't even have radiation energy could not even go out of the city without special circumstances. He would be injured or even die if he came into contact with the radiation-filled environment outside the city. Isn't it a joke that different animals fight? Obviously, Chang Ran's death was tricky. He hated Chang Ran when he was young, but at that time, because he had already succeeded, his inferiority and excessive self-esteem had disappeared. Naturally, he had no ill feelings for Chang Ran anymore. He was planning to investigate the cause of Chang Ran's death. It's a pity that before he could do anything, he was secretly calculated. The memory behind is full of gloom and despair. When he was studying at Xingguo College, Shi Qingyang was rather indifferent to things outside the window. Many of the classmates didn't even say anything. Chang Ran was the one he hated the most at the time, but he also impressed him the most. He has naturally heard a lot of things related to Chang Ran. Chang Ran once fell ill after injecting radiation energy medicine. Not only could it induce radiation energy, but his body became worse. After a long period of raising, he was sick all the time. In his impression, Chang Ran should have been raised for a long time, his face was pale and his body was puffy. And now Chang Ran, most of them had just been seriously ill. Chang Ran's radiation protection suit is the latest model from the Yangtze River City Aokeng Company. The full set of equipment has millions of credits. Many radiation fighters who go out of the city to hunt exotic animals can't afford to wear it, but he just wears it casually. If before, Shi Qingyang would have seen this scene very unbalanced, but now it feels nothing, but Chang Ran's broken body, without wearing such clothes, traveled a long distance from a first-tier city to a third-tier city, saying maybe halfway down the road, he fell ill due to radiation. Thinking about it, he even felt pitiful Chang Ran. If the Chang family really valued him, they should let him stay in Yangtze River City to learn some techniques and recover from his illness, instead of throwing him into this third-tier city, and let him enter the Spark Academy, which specializes in cultivating radiation fighters. You know, although there are not many people who cannot induce radiation energy, they still account for 1/5 of the total. Most of these people choose to work in the city or concentrate on scientific research. Many people have also done something in their respective fields. Achievement, Chang Ran can totally change his path. After thinking a lot in a moment, Shi Qingyang quickly returned to his senses, and then greeted him with a smile on his face. Are you just here in Spark City? Do you want me to take you to find a place to rest? There is also a car, if you are not in a hurry, we will clean it for you, and there will be absolutely no residual radioactive substances. Usually, people in Spark City wash cars sloppily and use poor potions. They can make money but they can't make much, but these people are different. As long as the washing is clean, they certainly don't care about spending more money and earning more. Shi Qingyang had just eaten the box lunch bought by Tao Rubeo, and he was naturally willing to help Tao Rubeo find more business. These people are all fresh faces, and they have seen fierce battles, and they are full of suffocation, so no one else has reacted at this moment. Shi Qingyang has become the first to attract in the past. Chang Ran looked at him curiously. The old man beside him saw that Shi Qingyang was a half-year-old child, and his face also showed a smile. Then you can help wash the car. As he said, he opened his hand. The contact terminal on the internet allows people to pick up. The outside of the city is full of radiation, and the contact terminal can't send out a signal under such radiation, so they only started to notify others after they entered the city. After the notification, the old man looked at Shi Qingyang again. You all help clean up our car and radiation protection suit. We will let someone come and get it tomorrow. We must do it well. Shi Qingyang said immediately. Originally, he thought that Tao Rubeo's car wash shop was too small. If these people are in a hurry, they may want to distribute the business to others. Now these people are picked up, and they will come back to get the car tomorrow. Don't worry about this. Except for the radiation protection suits of the people in Chang Ran's car, the protective clothing of the people in the other cars were more or less contaminated with stains along the way. These people must have killed a lot of strange animals. Thinking of this, Shi Qingyang felt more sympathy for Chang Ran. Although more and more cities are being built today, and there are roads between cities, when you see humans in the wild, many exotic animals will take the initiative to attack. Therefore, communication between cities has always relied on mobile platforms. Chang Ran did not arrive on a mobile platform, and 80% of the Cheng family wanted to keep it secret. The Cheng family is one of the best family in Yangtze River City. Cheng Ran's grandfather is still an 8th level radiator. During the 2 years of Cheng Ran's 2 years in Spark City, no one knows his identity. He has not been bullied even at school. This confidential work is absolutely first class. There are many things in the big family, Shi Qingyang is very clear about this, but at the moment, all of this obviously has nothing to do with him. He is only 16 years old now. He has just induced radiant energy. He will be stopped if he wants to go out of the city. In a short time, he can do nothing but raise his body. Thinking about this, Shi Qingyang calmed down, and then concentrated on washing the car. Shi Qingyang saw that the method of washing a car thousands of years ago was to wash it with water under a lot of pressure. At that time, when he saw this scene, his only feeling was luxury. Nowadays, not only food is precious, but water is also very precious. Ordinary water requires a bottle of 5 credits, and a bottle is 1 liter. He didn't even dare to drink too much water before. Shi Qingyang and Tao Rubeo first roughly cleaned the shells of several tanks with a washing machine, and then carefully began to clean the gaps on the tanks and the inner walls of the tanks. Although Tao Rubeo does not leave the city, as long as he is a man, there is no one who dislikes chariots. He looks at these chariots and likes them so much. He wants to hug the couple. Shi Qingyang is very calm, more than the one in front of him. He has owned a lot of advanced tanks, and now it's long past the time to look at other people's tanks. These 6 chariots, Shi Qingyang and Tao Rubeo, had been cleaned for 3 hours before they were all cleaned. With such a big deal, Tao Rubeo has been very happy in the afternoon. In the evening, when there are the most chariots returning to the city, Tao Rubeo does not include meals. Normally Shi Qingyang will not eat anything at this time, but will buy a box of nutritious meals on the way back after finishing all the work, but today is different. Tao Rubeo also proposed to make a box lunch for Shi Qingyang. Qingyang, I will invite you to dinner again today. No, Uncle Tao, I'll just buy it myself. You asked me at noon for a lot of money. Shi Qingyang immediately refused. Now that the biggest expense of ordinary people is food, he can't keep going. Sengfen, I really want to do this, 1 day or 2 is okay, Tao Rubeo will definitely be unhappy after a long time. That's it, Xiao Yang, you will come to work in the future, and your uncle will provide you with lunch and a box of nutritious meals, how about it? Tao Rubeo thought for a while and said. Thank you Uncle Tao. Shi Qingyang thanked him sincerely. Uncle Tao invited you at noon today. The nutritious meal for the evening is even your lunch today. Tao Rubeo said again. For cleaning and maintenance of such advanced tanks, he will receive 200 credits for each tank and 6 tanks. Excluding the cost, it can make 7 or 800, plus the cleaning of the radiation protection suits, and there is a net profit of 1000 credits, to be less. This business was found by Shi Qingyang. Shi Qingyang hurriedly thanked him again. He actually didn't care about what to eat. Although the nutritious meal tasted poor, it was nutritious and hungry because of too many miscellaneous things. When he left the exit of the city that day, Shi Qingyang felt that he was very warm because he was full. At this time, there was no sunshine long ago, but on the semicircular protective cover of the above-ground city, many lights were lit, reflecting the entire city very brightly. Most of the entertainment facilities are on the ground, and the city at night is naturally beautiful and lively, but Shi Qingyang did not stay here. He quickly returned to the underground city, and then returned to his residence along the long street. I also bought a bottle of water and a box of nutritious meals on the way. There was almost nothing in the small room. He found an already shabby record board and began to plan his future. He is sure that all of this is true now, and if this is the case, once again, he will never let himself repeat the same mistakes again. Shi Qingyang longed to become stronger. His biggest wish in his previous life was to kill those ferocious animals. This idea will still not change after rebirth. Although it was said that he had been conspired by others and eventually became a member of the research institute, he was still a member of human beings, and he could not forget the circumstances when he died. At that time, countless alien beasts flooded into the city, and the entire central city was submerged by alien beasts. The people in the city suffered radiation damage after the shield was broken, even if the radiation warrior had a strong resistance to radiation power, they can't deal with so many alien beasts. In the end, there was a violent explosion that destroyed the entire city. That is the central city, the largest city in China. Even the central city was captured by an alien beast. What about other places? Can humans survive? Shi Qingyang didn't understand how that happened, but he knew that his hatred of the alien beast would never disappear. In addition to the alien beast, what he has to deal with is his enemy. However, now he is just an unremarkable orphan in a third-tier city, and his enemy is the proud son of the heavens praised by everyone in Central City. This gap is not that big. In particular, he actually didn't know how he suddenly possessed very powerful and relatively stable radiant energy in his previous life. If it weren't for these sudden radiant energies, he might have become a 4th level or even 5th level radiant because of his own efforts. Able fighters are respected in Spark City, but they definitely can't make that step. Of course, if he did not get there, maybe his life in Starfire City would have been very stable. The radiation energy possessed by the 4th and even 5th levels would not cause his body to suffer so much damage. Inadvertently, Shi Qingyang thought of the battle that lasted for a month, leaving him unconscious, and finally a huge transformation battle took place. That place, when his strength becomes stronger, he must go again. Shi Qingyang couldn't help smiling wryly after writing down all the things he was going to do and the things of his previous life. Whether it's revenge, or going out of the city to kill foreign beasts, and investigating the movements of foreign beasts, none of them can be accomplished by a young man who can't even attack with radiation energy. Now, he has nothing but nearly 20,000 credit points. 20,000 credits seem to be a lot, but in fact it is just the cost of 3 months for an ordinary family of 3 in the dungeon. Shi Qingyang remembers that when his parents were still there, sometimes his father hunted something good. A family buys some good food to improve their lives. One meal will cost hundreds of credits. Xingguo Academy's tuition fee of 20,000 yuan is actually just a meaning, and it is estimated that he is the only one who will worry if someone else falls to his level. Even if he wants to become a radiation fighter, he will definitely accept other people's funding. Then sign a contract to help others do things. Shi Qingyang didn't have enough money right now, and at the same time, he didn't have the strength. After injecting radiation energy agents, 80% of people can induce radiation energy and become radiation energy subjects. However, except that they are more resistant to the radiation environment in the wild, they are no different from ordinary people. The real value should be radiation energy. Able fighter. Radiation warriors can be judged from the radiation energy possessed by the body and the attacks that can be sent out. They can be divided into 1 to 9 levels. As for the next step, the human body cannot contain more radiation energy. In fact, ordinary humans, as long as you reach level 9, you won't be able to do it easily, because at that time, the amount of radiant energy in the body is already very large, and if you are not careful, you may go back. In Shi Qingyang's previous life, the radiation energy in his body was far more stable than ordinary people, and he was fully expected to become a 9th level powerhouse. Unfortunately, his physical foundation was too poor, and he was finally found a chance to trick. The Radiant can leave the city after wearing protective clothing, but when outside the city, only the Radiant warrior can guarantee their safety. Ordinary radiators, even with the most advanced weapons, their ability to react, their perception of the surrounding environment also destined them to be unable to avoid alien beasts outside the city. The boundary between the Radiant and the Radiant fighter is whether the radiant energy in the body can be used to induce the radiant energy in the air to attack. In today's world, even if the city is often cleaned up, there is radiation, but it is negligibly weak compared to the outside of the city. Shi Qingyang closed his eyes and slowly felt the radiant energy in the air, and then began to try to use the weak radiant energy in his body to control the radiant energy outside. His previous experience made Shi Qingyang very sensitive to the radiant energy in the air, but the radiant energy in his body is too weak. After holding on for a long time, and finally returning without success, Shi Qingyang smiled, and then slowly began to absorb the radiant energy in the air. He really should wash the car more, even if the environment there is not good, it is better than nothing. It is best to practice radiation energy in an environment with radiation. The radiation in the wild is too violent and inappropriate. The special exercise room in the city is the best choice. You only need to pay for the energy fee if you use the exercise room. Shi Qingyang originally, after teaching the Xingguo Academy's tuition, I couldn't get the money at all. After thinking about it, I found a place that could replace the practice room's entrance to the city. Compared with the practice room, the radiation at the entrance to the city is very unstable and harmful to the human body. However, Shi Qingyang at that time had no choice. So when others went to the practice room and trained under formal guidance, he had been entering the city, while working, listening to passing radiation warriors talking about battles, while practicing the most basic methods of radiation energy use, trying to arouse the radiant energy that floods the surroundings. At that time, because he was laughed at school, he seemed to practice like crazy. Not only did he practice when he entered the city to work, but even in the city, where there was no radiant energy, he practiced without stopping. Mobilize the radiation energy in the body. All this is actually very crazy. Even advanced radiation fighters can't induce the scarce radiant energy in the city. The radiation fighters can only play a powerful role outside the city. However, Shi Qingyang succeeded. The day-to-day practice did not allow him to control the scarce radiation energy in the city to attack, but it made him become a radiation warrior earlier than the others in the academy. The control of radiation energy is far beyond ordinary people. He is different from those young masters who have been taught by famous teachers since childhood and can learn all kinds of combat skills. He can only use the most basic blessings. The radiation energy in his body is also very weak, but his combat experience and control ability, but no one can compare. Of course, this kind of practice method also has drawbacks. The radiation energy at the entrance to the city is very unstable. He practiced there and undoubtedly hurt his body. At the age of 16, he didn't understand this, but at that time, both his parents died and he couldn't even eat enough. His personality was inevitably a bit extreme. Later, after experiencing life and death several times, he let go a lot. For example, Chang Ran, he really disliked Chang Ran at first, even though Chang Ran did nothing. Chang Ran? Shi Qingyang suddenly thought of what happened today. He just told Tao Rubeo that he hadn't had lunch at noon before, and Tao Rubeo was willing to provide him with a lunch. He had never been willing to show weakness before, and never wanted others to underestimate himself, so he walked straight to that position with his back straight all the way, never bent over, but then he fell from heaven to hell. In the research institute, life was not easy, because he was determined. Those people always doubled his injections at the beginning, hypnotized him, and wanted to ask how he possessed such a magical power. He once fought desperately, but in the end he got nothing but pain, even because of drugs. He couldn't even control his body or excretion. Those people would not give up because of this, and would still insert the tube into his body. Later, he learned to show weakness and even pretended that he had been hypnotized. It was at that time that he suddenly discovered that the self-esteem, beliefs, and honor he had insisted on before were actually nothing. He has no background, and has nothing except strength. In the past, in order to improve himself and gain the respect of others, he has been working hard to hunt down alien beasts. Every time there is some construction task in the field, he will actively participate in it. For more than 10 years, he spent more time in the wild than in the city. He was on the verge of death several times in the battle with alien beasts, but he had never despaired. He just ignited a stronger fighting spirit, but at that research institute, he felt despair for the first time. Later, he still relied on showing his weakness and turned himself into a stubborn person, so that his condition became better. An elderly female pharmacist would even secretly take care of him. At that time, he had no radiation energy, so he set his sights on the plants brought back from the wild that the research institute often studied. He also wanted to learn more. After others lost his vigilance, he used these plants to corrode research. The wall, and then escaped. Nowadays, many plants in the wild are full of dangers due to radiation. Some plants can even hunt exotic animals, and they all have different characteristics. Shi Qingyang believes that as long as he stays in the institute for a few more years, after everyone thinks that he is a waste person who has lost the radiation energy, he might have a chance to escape. But before that day, the tide of beasts came. Shi Qingyang wrote on the record board, and wrote all the things he knew about Chang Ran. Chang Ran was born very well. Although the Chang family banished him to this third-tier city, they never treated him badly in life. He was naturally not short of money, and he was still very soft-hearted. In the last life, he hated Chang Ran. Although he didn't laugh at Chang Ran who didn't have radiation like other classmates, and didn't give Chang Ran a good face, Chang Ran was able to show him kindness and give him food. What about this time? Shi Qingyang suddenly felt that as long as he planned well, he could definitely make Chang Ran feel sorry for himself, and support himself. He has nothing now, and even eating is a problem. Even if he has a lot of knowledge before, it is completely useless. But if Chang Ran can feed him and provide him with a place to practice, he will definitely become stronger quickly. There is something that made him different in his previous life, and he can also check it out in advance. As for Chang Ran helped him, so he will definitely protect Chang Ran in the future, and will never let Chang Ran die outside the city, or even die without seeing his body. After Shi Qingyang figured it out, he briefly scrubbed his body with the cheapest detergent, then lay on the bed, thinking about it. How to hook up with others. At this point, he still has some experience, but this experience does not come from himself, but from those who want to hook up with him. When his scenery was infinite, many people tried to recruit him. I still remember that when he first became a 7th level radiation fighter, he bought a new chariot. As a result, he was hit by others 3 times before he was out of the city to hunt. The 3 times were when others hit him. Everyone who hit him had a very good attitude. It was obvious that his tank had only been scratched a bit, but these people were willing to pay him a new tank. When he met the first one, he thought that this rich middle-aged man really accidentally hit him, but the scenes went on one after another, and the beauty who hit him finally leaned on him, but he immediately realized something was wrong. These people just wanted to get a chance to get to know him by crashing the car. In addition to crashes, there are of course many tricks to know people. As long as Chang Ran appears in front of him, he will definitely make Chang Ran feel pitiful. The only thing I need to worry about is that Chang Ran may be simple and simple. However, Chang Ran will go to Spark College. This is for sure. Even if Chang Ran fails to hook up with Chang Ran before the start of school, it can be done after school. Shi Qingyang has always been a very good person. People with patience. After Shi Qingyang wrote down a plan, it was a lot easier, but he looked around the furnishings in the room and couldn't help sighing again. In fact, he still has a lot of knowledge that can be exchanged for large sums of money, such as some knowledge of pharmacy that he later learned in that research institute. These things are 20 years ahead of now. It's a pity that he is too poor. The only thing that can connect to the internet at home is his own contact terminal. If he really uses this contact terminal to go online, others can find him in minutes. As far as his current strength is concerned, he stayed honestly, waiting for someone to be willing to support himself. Shi Qingyang closed his eyes and began to slowly absorb the weak radiant energy in the air. Shi Qingyang set up an alarm clock on the contact terminal, which allowed him to get up on time, rubbed his forehead, and after gobbled up a box of nutritious meals, he immediately ran to the entrance of the city. The few chariots left by Chang Ran's housekeeper yesterday provided him with a way to approach Chang Ran. He naturally had to wait for Chang Ran's housekeeper to pick up the car. Shi Qingyang thought well, but the plan couldn't keep up with the changes. When he arrived at the entrance to the city, there were no traces of the cars in front of Tao Rubeo's car washing shop. Uncle Tao, have the cars been taken away? Yes, when I opened the door, those people took the car away, but they paid a lot of money. Tao Rubeo touched the contact terminal in his hand, and the smile on his face was almost unstoppable. The first plan failed, and only the second plan can be started. Shi Qingyang has been a somewhat persistent person since he was a child. He would do his best to do what he wanted and what he wanted. In order to have money to study, he can make himself hungry for 2 years. Naturally, he will not give up easily at this time. In the morning, there was no business in the car wash shop. Shi Qingyang helped Tao Rubeo clean all the car wash appliances. After doing all this, he sat on the car mat and connected to the network with the contact terminal in his hand. In the wild, the signal cannot be transmitted at all, but in cities, the network covers every corner. When a country builds a new city, it will also pull out optical fibers from nearby higher-level cities to connect to each other, so that all cities in China can connect to each other. The network can be connected. The optical fiber connecting Spark City from the secondary city Anhang City is very thick, and there are 2 optical fibers of the same specification as spares. These three optical fibers are buried deep underground and are the fastest communication channel between Spark City and the outside world. The contact terminal is always connected to the network. People in the city rely on the network for communication. However, most people do not use the contact terminal to access the internet. After all, the contact terminal is too small and very inconvenient. Shi Qingyang only has a contact terminal to use. He logged into the housing network of Spark City, and then began to study the housing rental situation in Spark City over the past 2 days. Nowadays, there is no need to buy a house. What kind of house you want to live in, you just need to contact the housing office in the city, and then rent the house you like. Like the house in the underground city where Shi Qingyang lives, you don't even have to pay the rent. It is enough to pay the energy bill every month. Most of the houses can be rented directly from the housing network in each city. Here, it will also show which houses are available for rent, and those houses are already rented. That's what Shi Qingyang studied. After Chang Ran and the group came to Spark City, unless they lived in someone else's house, they would definitely rent a house. Judging by Chang Ran's worth, most of them would rent a house in Shangcheng. And he was going to the Spark College to study, and naturally he would choose a house nearby. Shi Qingyang carefully checked the rental status of houses near Xingguo Academy, and finally, he really locked 6 houses. The 6 houses near the Spark College are all villas. They have been rented out recently. One of them should be Cheng Ran's residence. As for the others, although the transportation is very convenient now, some people with rich financial resources will still use it. His child was admitted to the Spark Academy and rented a house nearby. After checking the news, Shi Qingyang stopped staring at the contact terminal, and instead took the initiative to do a capable job. Tao Rubeo wanted to pay him wages, so naturally he would not want to see him doing nothing. Shi Qingyang did a simple scrubbing job, but didn't put his mind on it. Instead, he controlled the radiant energy in his body and began to arouse the surrounding radiant energy. His strength is very weak, and the radiant energy at the entrance to the city is also very low. By doing this, Shi Qingyang can only produce some subtle fluctuations in the radiant energy near him even if he is an intermediate radiation fighter. I am really too weak now. Shi Qingyang frowned slightly and practiced again and again. The most basic way of inducing radiant energy was previously practiced by him to become a subconscious movement. This time, he needs to adapt his body again. You can attack without thinking. Such a realm will inevitably require a lot of practice. Even if he is reborn, his body is only 16 years old. Tao Rubeo also saw the movement of Shi Qingyang's fingers, but he just smiled and shook his head. Everyone knows the method of using the radiant energy in the body to induce the radiant energy in the air, but many people have no way to let the outside world in their entire lives. Radiation energy fluctuates, and as long as you can do this, you can be called a radiation warrior. In the entire Spark City, people who can become a radiation warrior at the age of 16 have not studied systematically. They can count all the slaps, and even if they want to practice, they should go to a special practice room. In such a place, even if Shi Qingyang practiced for a lifetime, he would probably not be able to induce radiant energy. Tao Rubeo, a first-class radiation fighter, did not feel the slight fluctuations in the radiant energy in the air. Many radiation fighters will go out of the city in the morning and come back in the evening. At this time, the car wash shop is also very busy. Tao Rubeo is not picky in business. When someone comes, he washes the car. So although he can make money, he can't make any special. When Shi Qingyang was this age, he never thought about improving his business, but just did it when he had a living. At this time, his mentality was different, but he helped Tao Rubeo recruit. He has good eyesight. He can tell who wears protective clothing and who has a good tank, and he can roughly estimate who is more willing to pay. Brothers, the locust beast you hunted is so big, it's really amazing. Your car, this is the new Steel Type 6. I have collected a lot of posters of this car. Big brother, this car must be well maintained. Go to our store. I will definitely help you clean it. Shi Qingyang stood beside a few young men in their early 20s, carefully touching the chariot. Full of affection. Older people want to support their families, and they usually don't carelessly, but young people are different. Many people spend as much money as they earn and are willing to spend money on their tanks. Some people praise their tanks, and they will definitely do it. Very happy. Sure enough, after being complimented by Shi Qingyang, these people immediately parked the car in front of Tao Rubeo's car washing shop and asked Shi Qingyang, a person who likes this chariot, to wash them. Tao Rubeo's shop washed as many cars as usual on this day, but he made a lot more money. Tao Rubeo discovered this, and he was more enthusiastic about Shi Qingyang. Shi Qingyang found out a little bit and worked harder. After washing the car that day, he also helped Tao Rubeo tidy up the tools in the car wash shop. In the past, he seldom paid attention to this, and would leave after doing what he was supposed to do. In addition, he was not talking at that time and couldn't even set the time after he started to read. In the end, he was dismissed by Tao Rubeo. After he was fired, he didn't feel that he was wrong, but at this time he already understood how to make others like him. When he was in the research institute, he never hesitated to help those researchers, even though those people didn't treat him at all at the beginning. He looked at him as a human being, but after he did that, some people had a much better attitude towards him. He also learned a lot from. Since some benefits can be obtained by means, why not? Uncle Tao, there are no car washers in the morning. I won't come in the morning. After Shi Qingyang finished all the work, he found Tao Rubeo. Tao Rubeo's money is calculated by the hour. He used to be here all day in order to earn more, but now he needs more free time to step on it, so that he can get to know Chang Ran earlier. Tao Rubeo was a little surprised. You won't be here in the morning? The money in the morning is gone. Uncle Tao, I don't have much work in the morning, and it's not good for me to stay here. Shi Qingyang let himself show some guilt expressions. It's not good for me to sit and take money. Nothing, just accompany Uncle Tao. Uncle Tao, you are very good to me, but I can't take it easy, and I will be studying soon. I always have to read some books. Want to go back to read a book? How many people read before school starts? Tao Rubeo had a very good impression of Shi Qingyang. Seeing Shi Qingyang like this, his impression was even better. He paused before saying, You are a good boy. Well, you will be busy in the afternoon. You will be paid in the afternoon and evening. I will give you 12 o'clock every hour, and the packed lunch will become dinner. Thank you, Uncle Tao. Shi Qingyang expressed his sincere gratitude. I will definitely work hard. Sometimes, it's not a bad thing to play scheming. If before, he calmly told Tao Rubeo that he would not come in the morning. Now, Tao Rubeo would definitely not want to give him processing resources. Leaving Tao Rubeo, Shi Qingyang first went to buy a nutritious meal to fill his stomach, then drove to the Xingguo Academy, and started looking for the villas he had noted down on the map, and at the same time, he hoped that he could have a chance encounter with Chang Ran. It's a pity that he didn't meet Chang Ran, but after walking through them all, he eliminated 2 of the villas. The chariots that had been in use for several years were parked in the gardens of those 2 villas, but it wasn't the ones that had entered the city before, and naturally they wouldn't live with Chang Ran. I stepped on a spot the night before, and when he was free the next morning, Shi Qingyang went again. He stayed in front of the remaining 4 villas for a while, and then ruled out 2 of them. These 2 buildings will be excluded. One is because no one lives, the other is because Shi Qingyang saw 2 young girls coming out of it from a distance. A classmate, Shi Qingyang did not see the process for 2 years. Although she had a close relationship with a girl, it was impossible for Chang Ran to meet 2 young girls when she first came to Spark City. In the next few days, Shi Qingyang looked around in Spark City in the morning and was familiar with the situation in Spark City. In the afternoon, he went to work with Tao Rubeo. After a few days, he finally confirmed Cheng Ran's residence and met Cheng Ran's housekeeper once. Unfortunately, he never saw the process. The butler next to Cheng Ran was obviously not a fool. Pretending to be sympathetic to Cheng Ran was useful, but in front of this butler, the effect would be greatly reduced. However, opportunities are always reserved for those who are prepared. On the 8th day when Cheng Ran came to Spark City, Shi Qingyang saw the pale face and he left the villa where he lived with the housekeeper near noon. Cheng Ran's housekeeper is an old man in his 50s with grey hair on his head. After he arrived in Spark City, all the chariots were driven back by people, so he bought a small white car suitable for driving in the city. Car. After letting Cheng Ran get in the car, he started the car and drove slowly away from the villa. Shi Qingyang looked at the direction of the car, and immediately turned into a side road. According to the situation he has observed in the past few days, Cheng Ran's health is still very poor, so the housekeeper is responsible for everything he wants to buy. At this time, Cheng Ran will go out. There must be a special reason. For example, go to Spark College. Cheng Ran's car was heading towards the Xingguo Academy. What Shi Qingyang had to do was to get there early, and what to do later, he could adapt to the situation, as long as he could talk to them. In the past few days, apart from working at the entrance to the city, Shi Qingyang spent the rest of his time near this villa. The map of Spark City was also thoroughly studied. He specially picked the path, and then ran with all his strength. Stand up. Control the legs to move regularly, control the breathing without chaos, and carefully distinguish each intersection. Unfortunately, his radiation energy is still very weak, and there is not much radiation energy in the city, so that he can only rely on the fleshy Uno. After stimulating the surrounding radiant energy in his last life, he ran faster than some advanced monsters. Cheng Ran's housekeeper drove very slowly, so even if Shi Qingyang only relied on his own legs, he rushed in front of them after copying the path, and at the same time, he felt a little breathless. If he had run this way for a while in his previous life, he would definitely not be tired. Shi Qingyang added the practice of running into his schedule. In another half-month, Xingguo Academy is about to start, and it happens to be a holiday, but even so, there are still many students coming in and out. These people are all for the practice field of Xingguo Academy. Shi Qingyang took a deep breath and made a decision instantly after seeing the white car coming in his direction from a distance. He was optimistic about the speed and direction of the car, then climbed up the wall of Spark Academy in twos, and then activated the alarm system above without hesitation. There is nothing surprising about the surrounding walls of Xingguo Academy, but in fact it is equipped with a secret alarm device. When someone touches it, it will not only sound an alarm, but also give out an electric shock. This electric shock is not fatal or even harmful to the body. Can make an ordinary person lose resistance instantly. In the last life, after Shi Qingyang emerged in the school, he was caught and felt the ecstasy brought about by an electric shock. Of course, he later fought back fiercely. At that time, he never knew of compromise. A numb and painful sensation poured in from his hand instantly, and the siren sounded. Shi Qingyang let go of his hand and went down, just falling on the front of Cheng Ran's car with a bang sound. At the same time, the car stopped suddenly. These cars that drive in the city all have automatic braking systems. This is why Shi Qingyang didn't choose to rush to get hit by the car, that would be too fake. Grandpa Gu. Cheng Ran was taken aback, and quickly looked at the housekeeper beside him. Master, let me see. Gu Changjin opened the car door, and then saw that the man who landed on his car had rolled to the ground. Judging from his figure, he turned out to be just a teenager. What's going on here? A security guard at the gate of Spark Academy heard the alarm and walked out of it. In broad daylight, how could someone suddenly trigger the alarm? The time of the electric shock was very short. It was just a warning and it would not hurt. But for a while, Shi Qingyang was still a little out of breath. After a pause, he finally sat up with a guilty expression on his face. Sorry. Shi Qingyang was hungry for 4 months before, and he was a little thin. Such a 15 or 16-year-old boy would naturally not make people alert. When the security guard saw Shi Qingyang's appearance, his original guard immediately disappeared. Child, you can't play here. There is an alarm on the wall. You must be careful next time. The city is still very safe, and Spark Academy is not a secret place. The warning is actually to prevent students from the school from sneaking out. From the view of the security guard, Shi Qingyang was clearly innocently affected. I don't know, I'm sorry. Shi Qingyang nodded repeatedly, and looked at Gu Changjin with a guilty face. Uncle, I'm sorry, did I break your car? I don't know it will be like this. Of course he broke the car. Just now, he made a mark on the car with a knife he was carrying, so that he could have a chance to make up. This point was learned from the people who used the car that hit him to cheat him. Are you okay? Do you want to send you to the hospital? Gu Changjin asked politely. Shi Qingyang's injury has nothing to do with him. The nearby surveillance can prove that he is willing to send the other person to the hospital. Gu Changjin has experienced many storms. If he were still in Yangtze River City, he would definitely think that this young man had ulterior motives, but this is Spark City. There are only 2 or 3 people who know Chang Ran's identity, and Chang Ran is now in the eyes of many people. There is just a useless person, so naturally there won't be anyone who has changed the way to get to Chang Ran's side like before. No need, I'm not good this time. Shi Qingyang waved his hand again and again while rubbing his body, grinning. Now the numbness caused by the electric shock has passed, and the pain on his body can be tolerated completely, but at this time he should be more painful. In order to eat his full meal, he gave it up. Or, let's go take a look, it should be painful. Chang Ran also got out of the car and said slowly, seeing Shi Qingyang looking embarrassed. It's okay, actually it doesn't hurt. Shi Qingyang gasped with a hissing, while holding the car to stand up. Just after holding a hand, he seemed to find that his hands were too dirty, so he quickly retracted hand, embarrassedly wiped the place on the car that he had touched with his clothes. He behaved like a soil bun who had never seen the world. Such a person is also the easiest to make people unsuspecting, and if someone else checks it, his current situation is still a soil bun who has never seen the world. Gu Changjin was relieved when he saw this scene, but soon frowned again. You are. Uncle, it's you. I washed your car a few days ago. Do you remember me? Shi Qingyang just now saw Gu Changjin's appearance and asked in surprise. Aren't you washing the car? Why did you come here? Gu Changjin raised a trace of suspicion. Shi Qingyang didn't seem to notice his suspicion. He carefully took out a notice from his arms. I am a freshman who wants to study here in the second half of the year. I want to ask if I need other money besides tuition. I don't have much money. If I have to pay other expenses, I'm afraid I'll have to do an extra job. He said, rubbing the notice on his hand anxiously, making a full gesture. This notice, which he kept on him these days, was to let Chang Ran know in advance that they would be classmates, and it happened to be used now. Chang Ran's housekeeper has been working hard to help Chang Ran make friends. At the beginning, this person had prepared things for Chang Ran to give to his classmates. Now that he knows that he will be Chang Ran's classmate, his attitude may also change. The security guard knew the notice from the school. At this time, he saw that he was a little surprised at the moment. So you are a freshman? The tuition fee of the college is not expensive. What is more expensive is the money for renting the practice room in the future, but you don't need to worry. How many? Shi Qingyang's face was a little pale. I see. He put the notice carefully into his arms, and looked at the gate of Xingguo Academy with some nostalgia. The appearance of Shi Qingyang can be seen at a glance. He may have no money in his hands. Gu Changjin discovered this. Although he did not take care of it, he thought that the other party might be Chang Ran's classmate, so he persuaded, "Have you fallen? Go check it out." After speaking, he looked at Chang Ran again, "Master, get in the car, the appointment time is coming." Chang Ran nodded, and was about to get into the car, but met Shi Qinjiang's gaze. Shi Qinjiang's face was still a little lost, but after facing each other, he immediately smiled at him. There was bitterness in that smile, and Chang Ran was stunned. After getting into the car, he looked at Gu Changjin curiously, still speaking slowly, "Grandpa Gu, does he have no money to go to school?" "It should be." Gu Changjin said casually, he is still worried about Chang Ran. He knew very well that for Chang Ran, the best way should be to learn other knowledge, such as medicine, but Chang Ran's parents did not agree, insisting on letting Chang Ran learn radiation energy, and plan to get some radiation energy. Can inducer. He is just a housekeeper, and has no ability to influence them. The only thing he can do now is to take good care of Chang Ran. The white car drove slowly into the school. Shi Qingyang sat down at the door and waited for the car to come out. Knowing Chang Ran will allow him to have food and various resources, and if Chang Ran helps him, he will definitely not let Chang Ran be bullied and isolated at school, and will do his best to ensure Chang Ran's safety in the future. This is a mutually beneficial thing, but right now he still needs to act hard. Chang Ran came to Spark City in secret this time, and only the dean of the Spark Academy knew his identity. Gu Changjin brought Chang Ran over this time to help Chang Ran go through the admission procedures. Xingguo College recruits students over the age of 16 in 10 classes. The first 8 classes are all elites, while the latter 2 classes are all students who have spent money to study and students with poor qualifications and poor backgrounds. And the reason for mixing these people together is just to allow those who spend money to come in and collect a few subordinates. Chang Ran was like this. Of course it was impossible to enter the first few classes, of course, he was divided into 10 classes. Gu Changjin was not surprised by this result. He didn't say anything to the dean of the Spark College where Chang Ran's father was a classmate. He just asked for a copy of the new students in class 10. These materials were placed in a recorder. Gu Changjin flipped through it slightly, and then turned to Shi Qinjiang's materials, and saw the double C results. This kind of radiation capacity and adaptability, if he had known it before, would definitely be very disdainful, but now compared with Chang Ran's situation, he feels that this child named Shi Qingyang is still lucky. Of course, seeing this information, he no longer doubted Shi Qingyang. Chang Ran also saw Shi Qinjiang's information, a hint of curiosity flashed in his eyes, and slowly asked, "Grandpa Gu, is he, my classmate? He will be young master's classmate in the future." Gu Changjin whispered, and at the same time pondered to himself. When the white car drove out of the school, Gu Changjin saw Shi Qingyang again. The young man was standing at the door, and when he saw them, he waved his hand. He stopped the car, and then saw Shi Qingyang walk to the window with a guilty expression on his face. "I found out that there was white paint on the knife I was wearing just now. I must have scratched when I rolled down just now. Your car is out. I'll help you repair the paint. I work in a car wash, and I know a little bit about this. Of course, if you want to repair it elsewhere, it's no problem, but I don't have much money." Gu Changjin smiled and said, "No, it's you. You should have been injured. Do you want to go to the hospital?" He asked Shi Qingyang if he wanted to go to the hospital. There was not much sincerity in it, but now he really has it. Such a plan. Chang Ran is in a special situation and has an introvert personality. If he can, he hopes that Chang Ran can have a classmate and friend who can take care of him. Judging from what he saw, this young man might be short of money. Although he is not as rich as before, he is not short of money. Chang Ran still has a large amount of living expenses every month. Maybe he can spend some money to let this young man take care of his young master in school. Gu Changjin's attitude was much more sincere. Shi Qingyang also discovered this, and he was relieved at the same time. With a good beginning, the following things are much more convenient. In fact, based on Shi Qinjiang's current situation, he can also find others to support him, but others gave him too little money, but he paid too much. The contract that others gave him in his previous life was that he was willing to pay him tuition plus 80,000 per year. The cost of credits requires him to work for each other for 15 years after graduation. How many 15 years does a person have? You know, radiation fighters generally reach the age of 40, and because of their bodies, they will slowly start to go downhill. Facts have also proved that he was right in not agreeing. Since he became a level 4 radiation warrior, he often spent a day out hunting and made tens of thousands. In order to catch up to 100,000 credits every year for 15 years, maybe because you can't improve your strength anymore if you want to work, so this account is not worthwhile. Moreover, now he no longer believes in others. He was only 18 years old, but was tricked by the teacher he trusted to get out of the ant colony that made him almost dead. After his success, he was reluctant to return to Spark City for a big reason, because after his parents passed away, his life here is really unpleasant. After all, only Chang Ran assured him the most, at least, Chang Ran would not harm him. I'm really okay. I don't need to go to the hospital. It's just a small injury. Shi Qingyang waved his hand again and again, and then pulled his sleeve uncomfortably, so that people could see the injury on his arm inadvertently. The injury was actually not caused by a previous fall, but by him after Chang Ran and Gu Changjin entered the Xingguo Academy. You are injured. Chang Ran has always been careful. Sitting in the passenger seat, he naturally saw the wound on Shi Qinjiang's arm. This little injury is nothing to me. Shi Qingyang smiled at Chang Ran, then took out the contact terminal in his hand, touched Gu Changjin's contact terminal, and put his own. The contact number was transmitted. Uncle, I'm going to wash the car. This is my contact number. If the car needs to be painted, you must come to me. After doing all this, Shi Qingyang showed another smile, and then waved his hand. Uncle, goodbye young master. After speaking, Shi Qingyang turned around and ran on two legs, without the cautious expression on his face. This trick should be called stubbornness, right? He really wanted to go back with Chang Ran and have a good meal, but it was too eager to do so. It's better to leave some time so that Gu Changjin can check his information. If you are lucky, Gu Changjin might take the initiative to come to him. Even if you are not lucky, he can create a second chance to meet each other. He has been running around in the Xingguo Academy these days and found another help. Part-time delivery of food. Even with the idea of relying on Chang Ran for food in the future, Shi Qingyang feels that he needs to make more money. Moreover, the work of washing the car is too far and it takes a long time. Now he does not plan to practice spoken at the entrance to the city. It can be used. In this case, this work cannot be done after school starts. Seeing Shi Qingyang turned the corner and disappeared, Chang Ran finally retracted his gaze, and then looked at his arm. If he had suffered the same injury as Shi Qingyang, he would definitely not be able to laugh. Master, he will be your classmate in the future. Gu Changjin smiled. Chang Ran hesitated for a while before he said, Grandpa Gu, can you help him? He spoke slowly. I don't know when he started. As long as he becomes nervous or speaks quickly, he will easily make the wrong words. It is said that this was a psychological problem, but no one asked him to treat it, and it has always been like this, and he has also developed the habit of speaking slowly. I'll help young master go and have a look. Gu Changjin whispered. Chang Ran nodded and asked, Grandpa Gu, is it okay if I go to school? Master, it's okay. This is Spark City. No one knows you, and you can make friends at school. Gu Changjin comforted. His young master hasn't been there since he was attacked when he was 8 years old. After school, I still go to a school that trains radiation fighters with this physical condition. Gu Changjin glanced at the contact number passed by Shi Qingyang just now, and finally made a decision. That evening, Gu Changjin contacted the dean of Xingguo Academy and asked for more detailed information from Shi Qingyang. After everyone was born, there was a file. Shi Qingyang was going to study at Xingguo Academy, and Xingguo Academy also got his file. 16 years old this year, 2 months older than Chang Ran. His father Shi Zhen and mother Zhang Lanyan were both born in ordinary families in Anhang City. They moved to Xingguo City after getting married and died in April this year. Shi Qinjiang's life experience is not complicated. He has never left Starfire City since he was born. After reading the detailed information, Gu Changjin's impression of him has improved, and at the same time he understands why Shi Qingyang is worried about tuition problem. Thinking of this, Gu Changjin turned over the news about the death of Shi Qinjiang's parents, and then frowned slightly. Shi Qinjiang's parents rented a piece of land outside the city and spent all their savings, but in all the news, but did not mention this. After reading all the news related to Shi Qingyang on the computer, Gu Changjin quickly saved everything and put aside, and at the same time made up his mind to see Shi Qingyang in a few days. Shi Qingyang didn't know that Gu Changjin had already planned to come to see him. At this time, he had just finalized a part-time job to help people deliver food near Xingguo Academy through the contact terminal. The part-time job site is a chain store called Meat Shop, which sells raw meat and various processed foods. They take orders from the internet, and then deliver takeaway or raw meat to the students of Spark College and nearby residents. This store has always been the first choice for students of Xingguo College for part-time work. Shi Qingyang did it in this store after not washing the car in his previous life. Here, he is paid according to the number of pieces sent. The salary is actually higher than that of Tao Rubeo. Buy here. You can also get a 20% discount on the food in the store. But he didn't like this job at the time, because the radiation energy cannot be absorbed here, and the radiation energy control is practiced. As for the food, there is a 20% discount. The cheapest food here costs 30 credits, which is a small amount. For him at that time, it was of no use at all. Shi Qingyang deliberately chose the delivery task of Cheng Ran's villa, but Gu Changjin didn't buy food from the store where he worked. He also had to run around this morning during his part-time job, often in the underground city. It is difficult to make a detour to Cheng Ran's villa, so the two have no chance to meet for a while. However, he himself is a very patient person, so he is not irritable, but found a benefit of working here. Minced meat cut for aesthetics, edible internal organs that taste bad, meat from the cutting edge when a foreign animal was killed. These are scraps that are not needed by meat shops and can only be sold to companies that make nutritious meals, but they sorted out the processing plants that sold nutritious meals, but the money they sold was often only enough to pay for labor. If it weren't for the rules not to waste food, the meat shop would actually just throw these things away, and naturally they wouldn't mind someone taking some away. For Shi Qingyang, all of this is equivalent to a treasure trove. Wasn't this the nutritious meal he originally ate every day? Moreover, the internal organs of some alien animals, after being cleaned, will actually taste very good. China has always been a country that pays attention to food. Nowadays, restaurants have a variety of delicious dishes, but people always prefer exotic animals that are strong and expensive. The more rare and difficult to catch exotic animals, the price the more expensive it is, the more difficult it is to deal with, such as sewage, and no one will pay attention to it. But Shi Qingyang has eaten all kinds of things. His previous life began to change at the age of 18, but at that time, he was just a low-level radiation warrior. For many years, he lived on hunting animals by himself. At that time, he didn't have any hobbies. He just wanted to become stronger, kill more exotic animals, avenge his parents, and avenge those who died in the mouth of exotic animals. The only thing he would care about was food. The experience of starving when he was young made him particularly obsessed with food. Not only would he carry food on his body all the time, he was unwilling to waste every time he hunted a foreign animal, he always ate everything clean, and he also specialized in learning some cooking methods. His craftsmanship is incomparable with those of the chefs, but he has to cook something for himself, but there is no problem at all. It is naturally not difficult to make these scraps into food. When he was working on the first day, Shi Qingyang asked for some scraps. Because of this, he helped organize the minced meat in the kitchen after delivering the things to be delivered. On the second day, the person in charge directly approached him and said that as long as he was willing to help organize them, he would not only give him some extra money, but he could also take any leftovers. Of course Shi Qingyang couldn't disagree, and then he started his busy part-time job career. Every morning he goes to the meat shop to help deliver takeaways. At noon, he sorts out the leftovers accumulated in the morning and takes home enough food for himself. He goes to work at Taorubao at 2 in the afternoon, and works until 8 in the evening, and then goes to the meat shop to sort out the extra leftovers that came out in the afternoon. His time schedule is full, and his daily income has reached 300 credits, not to mention, there is no need to worry about food anymore. This kind of life seems very good, but Shi Qingyang is very clear that if he wants to stand at the previous height, he must not keep working. Radiation fighters all need to be trained. If he doesn't work hard, he won't be able to become a strong one no matter how much experience he has. Shi Qingyang has lived like this for several days, and as long as he is free, he will go around where Changran lives. It is a pity that Changran and Gu Changjin are both very simple, so he is one of them. No one met. The minced meat is specially packed in a box, the alien beast's water is specially packed in a box, and it may be radioactively contaminated in a box. Shi Qingyang has killed a lot of foreign animals, and even dissected a lot of them. He is not afraid, and he can recognize which part of the alien beast they belong to at a glance, which makes him do the work of sorting out the scraps handily. After the takeout is delivered at 11 o'clock, he can do all of it in just 1 hour. Jobs. On this day, after Shi Qingyang finished sorting it out, as usual, he pretended to leave enough food for 2 people to eat for a day. Most of it was minced meat, and the other half was the internal organs of a strange animal. Most of the plants outside contain toxins. The shells, blood, and feces of alien animals also contain toxins, but most of them have the ability to filter, which instead leaves their flesh without too much toxins. And this is also the reason why the viscera of the alien beast is unpopular. The viscera often contains more toxins than ordinary meat. Of course, this is not without treatment. Shi Qingyang, how many people are in your family? Do you want to get more? The kitchen chef asked when he saw Shi Qingyang and was about to leave. Most of the people in their kitchen don't like those students who come to the Spark Academy who come to work part-time. They don't do anything else because of jealousy. After all, they can never become radiation fighters, but the students of Spark Academy have a bright future. But Shi Qingyang is an exception. He even needs scraps. This makes the kitchen people not jealous of him. Even, because he started, there are other people who help in the kitchen, who no longer care about face and will bring some minced meat and the like go back. The price of food is too expensive after all. Enough. Shi Qingyang smiled. He is the only one in his family. Taorubao can also pack dinner. In fact, he can't finish eating this alone. However, his previous hunger made him have the habit of hoarding food, so these days, he has made a lot of dehydrated dried meat to store, and put some on his body so that he can eat it at any time. After bidding farewell to the people in the kitchen, Shi Qingyang left here, and when he returned, he passed by the villa where Changran lived as usual. This villa was quiet, with no people in sight. Shi Qingyang was a little disappointed, but he didn't want to pass by when he suddenly heard a little movement. When he turned around, he found that the windows on the bottom of the villa had opened. Changran showed a face from behind the window and opened his mouth wide as if he wanted to say something. After meeting his eyes, he paused, then closed his mouth, showing a flattering smile. Shi Qingyang is no stranger to this smile. When he and Chang Ran were bullied together at the Starfire Academy, Chang Ran often smiled at him like this, but at that time, he would generally ignore it. Shi Qingyang showed a sunny smile with curiosity and surprise on his face. "Little master, you live here." The villa where Chang Ran lives is not big, the yard is smaller, and there are only 2 parking spaces at the door, so Shi Qingyang can clearly see every expression on his face even though it is separated by the wall. "I live here." Chang Ran's smile widened. "You?" Grandpa Gu said, "He's looking for you." "Uncle went to see me? Do you want to touch up the paint?" Shi Qingyang leaned close to the wall. Of course he knew that Gu Changjin couldn't find him because of a small scratch, but he couldn't show it. "No." Chang Ran was a little uneasy. He seemed to be worried that Shi Qingyang had misunderstood. He wanted to argue, but because he was a little anxious, he couldn't say clearly, "No, no, no, no need to make up." Chang Ran looks like someone who has never been in contact with the outside world. Is it because he has been in poor health since he was a child, and the Chang family has kept him locked up? Shi Qingyang remembered the past again. At that time, in the Spark College, the 9 classes and 10 classes were walking sideways, all of them came in through the back door. Because most of these people were powerful, only Chang Ran was the only one who didn't know how to use them. Because of his own advantages, Teacher Ming Ming was biased towards him, and he didn't know that he would sue. In many places, Chang Ran's words and deeds are completely inconsistent with his family's birth status. "Why did the uncle look for me?" Shi Qingyang looked curious. "Are you out of money?" Grandpa Gu said he wants to help you. Chang Ran slowed down. In this case, Shi Qingyang in his previous life would be upset when he heard it, and would definitely refuse, but this time, he was no longer blinded by the inferiority and sensitivity of his youth, but he felt that Chang Ran looked very cute. Originally Chang Ran was harmless enough, speaking slowly, Shi Qingyang even wanted to rub his hair. "You don't need to help me, I have found a job now, and I can make up for the tuition." Shi Qingyang raised the box in his hand. In his previous life, he became a bit withdrawn because of the death of his parents, and he was also looking for a part-time job. It's not easy, life now is so much better than then, at least he hasn't been hungry since he was reborn. "I saw it, you deliver the food." Chang Ran smiled and nodded. "Did you see me? I seem to often walk from here." Shi Qingyang recalled, and found that every time he passed by, he was very natural. Even if he monitors this villa, he is definitely behind the invisible corners of the villa. Just breathed a sigh of relief. "Yes, I saw it the day after you fell last time." Chang Ran smiled flatteringly again. Shi Qinjiang's heart moved. According to Chang Ran's statement, he was afraid that he had seen himself many times in the past few days, and he had been paying attention to him for a long time. "So you saw me so early. Would you like to open the door to let me in? We can also call the uncle, lest he can't find me." A trace of embarrassment flashed across Chang Ran's face. "I have forgotten, I will open the door immediately." He turned around and ran, and quickly opened the door. "When I met for the 3rd time, I went straight into the room." Shi Qingyang was very satisfied with his progress, and he entered the room and walked by Chang Ran, only to realize that he was half a head taller than Chang Ran. He is only 16 years old now. He is still a little thin and not tall, but Chang Ran is shorter and thinner than him. This body is really bad. In contrast, Shi Qingyang feels that he is more chubby in the impression. Pleasing to the eye, at least it looks healthier. "Sit down, I'll call Grandpa Gu." Chang Ran smiled, and then fiddled with the contact terminal in his hand. Chang Ran was not wary, nor did he turn on the privacy mode. Shi Qingyang could also hear his conversation with Gu Changjin clearly. Gu Changjin did plan to find him, but now he is signing a purchase contract and he will be back after a while. When he talked to Chang Ran, he was very kind and told Chang Ran to stay in Qingyang for dinner, saying that he would come back. Make it delicious. Young master, haven't you eaten yet? Shi Qingyang asked. It is already 12 o'clock, and most families have already started eating at this point. I'm not hungry, are you hungry? Chang Ran asked cautiously. Hungry? Young master, I'll give you something to eat, and I will treat it as compensation for the car that hit your car last time. Shi Qingyang could see that Chang Ran wanted to let himself stay here. I want to be friends with myself, and of course he will not give up this opportunity. Rather than sitting and chatting with Chang Ran, I might as well find something to do. Although the dishes he cooks may not be delicious, it is also his heart, and Chang Ran will definitely like it. Even he himself likes this kind of closeness. Didn't Liang enter his life by cooking for him? At that time, he thought that there could be someone waiting for him in the city forever, thinking that he could have a home, but in a blink of an eye, Liang sold him. He hated Liang once, but now he feels much calmer. No. Chang Ran shook his hand quickly, the car is okay. It's been cut off by me. How can I say it's okay? If what I encountered at the time was unreasonable, maybe I would be beaten. And I have ingredients on hand, but the ingredients are not very good. Little master, are you uncomfortable with such things? Shi Qingyang seemed hesitant, but he was sure of Yi Chang Ran's character, and he would definitely not dislike it. No, definitely not. Chang Ran shook his head quickly, lest Shi Qingyang might misunderstand him. I am used to eating. That's good, where is the kitchen? Shi Qingyang asked. There. Chen Ran led Shi Qingyang into the next room. This is a large dining room. Connected to the dining room is the kitchen. When Shi Qingyang walked into the restaurant, the first thing he noticed was the open window and the chairs under the window. No doubt, Chang Ran had been here looking out through the window before. Shi Qingyang watched Chang Ran move the chair back to the dining table with some embarrassment. He didn't ask anything, but knew that his plan would definitely succeed. He has been walking this way these days, and Chang Ran may have been waiting for him here. The kitchen is very clean, but all the simple condiments that can be used are here, and obviously someone is cooking here. Shi Qingyang looked at all the bottles and cans and understood the purpose of these things. To his surprise, he also found a bag of starch and a few potatoes. In Chang Ran's previous life, he never ate his meals in the school cafeteria. Gu Changjin sent them. Every time, most of them were vegetables. Now there are no irritating seasonings, but there are starchy potatoes. Most of Chang Ran's stomach is not good. In this case, I am afraid that I can't make it too greasy. Shi Qingyang himself has no meat and is not happy, but considering Chang Ran, he can only give up the idea of having a large plate of barbecue. However, fortunately, today someone sent a few cicada pupae of the beast, and after the chef cut it open, a lot of meat of the beast was naturally left, as well as the internal organs. Knowing the beast's cicada chrysalis has a hard shell on the outside, which makes the alien beast's body very little radioactive and nourish the body, so all of these scrapers, Qingyang, are left behind. Now they can just be used to make them food. When Shi Qingyang took the ingredients out of the box, Chang Ran slowly walked over. Do you want to help? No, I'll be fine. You wait outside. By the way, I have jerky in my clothes. You can eat it and put a pad on it. Shi Qingyang motioned with his eyes to the clothes on his clothes. Pocket, my hands are dirty. Take it yourself. Chang Ran was obviously embarrassed and didn't want to refuse. After hesitating, he reached out and took out a small bag from Shi Qingyang's clothes bag. In the bag, Shi Qingyang specially selected hungry-resistant meat, which was marinated and dehydrated. The dried meat, although very hard, tastes good and can be kept for a long time. Chang Ran took the jerky, but didn't go outside but stayed at the door of the kitchen. He looked at Shi Qingyang, took a small piece of jerky and chewed it in his mouth. He didn't chew it for a long time. The minced meat is only the size of a fingernail. You don't need to cut it, just do it. Seeing that Chang Ran's villa is filled with water, Shi Qingyang unceremoniously washed the minced meat and added some seasoning. Add starch and mix well. Then, he cut the potatoes again, and then used the minced meat of another alien animal to simmer the fat, then put these small pieces of minced meat in and fry, and finally put in the boiled diced potatoes and mix well. In this way, it is not very greasy. Knowing that there is not much meat in the beast, Shi Qingyang guessed that he made a small bowl. In addition, he also stewed a soup with the innards of the beast, which he washed with salt and cut. It's broken, the stewed soup doesn't even have oil flowers, but it's very fragrant. Knowing that the meat and internal organs of the beast are not much, both are left to Chang Ran. Shi Qingyang himself actually prefers large pieces of meat, so he directly mixed the minced meat with seasoning and put it in the oven. Finally, a large pot was baked. Chang Ran rarely comes into contact with the outside world, and doesn't know that the ingredients Shi Qingyang uses are scraps. Of course, even if he knows it, he won't care about it because of his personality. When Shi Qingyang is cooking, he has been chewing jerky beside him. If Shi Qingyang looks at him, he will immediately show a big smile. After Shi Qingyang finishes his cooking, he seems to want to say something, but in the end he didn't speaking out, just keep laughing. When Gu Changjin came back, Chang Ran was eating happily, while Shi Qingyang was holding a big pot to feast on.